Hey, my little cupcakes, I have a great story. Here we go on our adventure. The Ramble, Shamble Children. Here we go. Down the mountain, across the creek, past the last curve of the road, 5 children lived together in a Ramble Shamble house. So 5 children lived in this Ramble Shamble house. There was always work to do at the Ramble Shamble house. Mara took care of the garden, while Lockie and Rosal chased off the always hungry blackbirds. Ben fed the chickens, and Jory looked after the mud. So here's little Jory in the mud, and they all had different jobs to do. There were always meals to share at the Ramble Shamble house. Mara picked the salad while Lockie and Rosal pulled the carrots. Ben fetched the eggs, and Jory looked after the mud. So Jory was the youngest one, and he loved to play in the mud. And they all had to have different jobs so they could have a good meal together. The garden always needed digging or weeding or gathering up. There were always bugs to catch or fences to patch. The work was hardly ever done, but doing it together made it easier. At night, when the children were full and sleepy, they all piled into Mara's bed and listened to her spin stories about giants and dragons and brave explorers. So at the end of the night, they would get together in Mara's bed, and she would tell them stories about dragons and giants. One afternoon, the children took a break to read a book they found in the attic. "Oh, that's what a proper house looks like," said Mara. "And what a pretty garden." "Looks nice," said Finn. "Definitely doesn't look like ours," says Rosal. "Maybe it could," said Lucky. So they're looking at what a proper house looked like. It was well taken care of. They said, "Our house doesn't look like that." The next day, the children set to work, turning the Ramble Shamble house into a proper home. They propered up the chickens. They propered up a scarecrow. They raked all the mud puddles, because mud definitely isn't proper. So Jory lost his mud puddles. They made everything look fancy. They propered up the garden. Proper houses always have roses, said Lucky. "We can pull up the carrots to make room for them." "Perfect," said Mara. "Now that's all that's missing is a proper finishing touch." So they put in the rose. They pulled out the carrots, put in the roses, and made everything look fancy. "We must have a proper chandelier," said Mara. "I think they're made of diamonds." "This stink bug is shaped like a diamond," said Lucky. "We have plenty of those," said Rosal. When they're finished, everything looked more proper. So they made everything look fancy and tidy and proper. But things were not quite right. "Ah," shrieked Mara, "one of the chickens laid an egg in my shoe." "Guess they don't like the proper hen houses I made," said Finn. "I can't pick any peas," said Lucky. "The rose bushes keep scratching me up." "The chandelier is flying away," shouted Rosal. "This isn't proper at all," groaned Mara. So everything they had done, it just wasn't working. Nothing was working out. The hen laid an egg in her shoe. The chandelier flew away. "Hold on," said Finn. "Has anyone seen Jory?" "Isn't he in the mud puddle?" said Lucky. "Oh no, we propered it up." "Jory! Jory! Jory, where are you? Jory!" They called for him. "Jory!" "We have to find him before it gets dark," said Mara, swallowing back tears. As they entered the forest, the children slowed to a tiptoe. "What if a giant stole Jory?" whispered Lucky. "Or a dragon," said Rosal. "There's no such thing," said Mara. "Here, Finn, you go first." They followed the trail through a dark tunnel of brambles and into a clearing. So they went to find Jory, but they were so afraid of finding giants or dragons in the forest. I wonder what they're going to find. "Jory!" Look at Jory sitting in the mud puddle. "Jory!" Look at him. He didn't look afraid at all. He was having a good time. That's when Jory took his very first steps, straight into the arms of his Ramble Shamble family. So look at him. He had crawled over to the mud puddle and he walked out of it. They were so happy. They found him and he could walk. That night the children sat together on the porch, munching snap peas. They put everything back the way it was, especially the mud. Our house sure doesn't look like the one in the picture, said Rosal. It's Ramble, Shamble, said Lucky. It's ours, said Finn. Mara smiled. It's perfect. So they put it back the way it was before they tried to fix it up fancy. They said it's our Ramble Shamble house. The children stayed up late watching Jory make a proper mess, while the stars shone overhead brighter than diamonds. So they stayed up late and watched Jory make a mess in the mud puddle. And they enjoyed it. The end. I hope you like that.